Hey, we're back, America. Segment 3. Hey, Tom, don't get mad. In your honor, we know you couldn't make it, but we had to pull out Pipe Alonso.
We did.
We had to do it.
We did.
We have a friend here.
And when Hugo comes back, he's
he'll
a Detroiter. He's going to say, I mean, I know you guys have the half game better record right now, but I mean.
Look, by the way, but both teams are doing great. We have not talked about Detroit, so I want to get Lawton stake. Now, look, we're 45 and 25. We are 70 games in. So we're almost not quite at the halfway point yet. Next month is about the halfway point. But so far, give me first overall, give me an assessment. And then at the assessment, I want you to give me an overall, how would you grade the first half so far? But first of all, give me an assessment. What have you liked? What have you not liked?
What
are you looking to see maybe in the second half?
Until yesterday, they had escaped most injuries. Jackson Jobe is now going to have Tommy John surgery, so he's out. He was kind of the up-and-coming pitcher, right?
Yeah.
He was 4-1 in 5 starts. I mean, he was coming alive. So I said last year, when they got to August and they were about to, go south, and Hugo walks by, it's cool. He'll be back.
He's going to call somebody.
Well, so last year I had said on the show up north, I said, look, the Tigers are at the end of the season, they're not going to make the playoffs, and they're going to look back on the season. There's a lot of games they should have won, right?
Okay.
A good example is they lost to Baltimore yesterday 10-1. That's unnecessary. They won tonight.
Good right now.
They won tonight 4-1, but those are the games you're going to look back on. How the hell did we lose that game?
Yeah.
So not saying you got to win every single one of them, but you can't lose. They've lost too many games. Tigers then go on a run and make the playoffs, right?
Yes.
And do great. And at that point, the expectations change. So coming into this year, I said, man, if they can stay healthy, it's going to be a good show.
I was shocked that I thought last year they kind of caught lightning in a bottle, but I don't follow them the way you did.
They did.
It turns out it wasn't a fluke. This team is for real.
Yep.
They just needed something to bring it.
AJ is a good manager.
But they needed something to bring it together. And by the way, when you look through the history of sports, you see every now and then you see a team like this. They kind of come out of nowhere, but then you look back like, well, they had that guy and they had that guy. When they go on to something bigger,
right.
Like they win a couple of championships. Those guys were actually there.
Tarek Skubal got the win tonight.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Another
guy who's legit.
The last 30 innings, his ERA, he's getting 1 run. His ERA is .29.
That's like video game shit.
Out of control.
That's video game. That's PlayStation 5 shit.
Who's the guy that ended up signing with your team, the Red Sox, that we tried to get?
Crochet?
Nope.
No.
You'll see his name, and I just can't think of it right now.
Bregman.
Bregman.
The third baseman is an all-star.
Yeah. That's
He's
the guy.
had a good year.
And that's the guy we wanted to get. We couldn't get him. We didn't want to pay. It was like not very much money difference, but he went there to Boston. They gave him a little bit more. Wasn't a lot more, though. But it's kind of like, why wouldn't you just give him a little more money? But whatever.
True. That
was one where I was like, man, that would have been nice to get him.
Yeah.
But again, they've escaped injuries so far, which is great. And it's a lot of fun watching them play. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, good, the Tigers are good again. Best record in the American League right now. I'll take it. So.
And look, it's not a fluke.
Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself, if the Mets and the Tigers have a legitimate shot of getting there.
Yeah.
That'd be a heck of a series.
I might have to go to a game.
I'm just saying there's a chance. It's not a snowball's chance. There's a chance,
right,
that come October we could be having a very interesting conversation on this set. So I'm very impressed with the Tigers. What would you? So I'm assuming you're giving them an A.
Yeah, I'd give an A. The first half is almost over. I mean, we're just a couple of weeks away, right?
Now, what for the second half?
Yeah.
For this to continue this run, what do you think is the biggest key for them to stay consistent or even maybe, God forbid, improve? Give me one big thing you're looking for.
One big thing I'm looking for. I'd still like to see him make a move at the deadline.
Be a buyer at the deadline.
Be a buyer at the deadline.
Okay, well, what should they have?
That's a good question. I still think, losing Jackson Jobe, you might need a pitcher.
Is he gone for the year?
He's gone for the year. Tommy John surgery, right?
Okay, yeah,
and he had a little issue with the elbow in the game. I think it was the Giants game. They played against the Giants on the 28th of May. And he was having some discomfort. It was kind of weird, but then he went to multiple specialists too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a big deal. So they may have to get some pitching. I feel like the hitting's been great. Riley Green's been outstanding.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, it's been fun to watch. Torkelson's back. Finally, we thought we lost him. Remember, they sent him down to AAA last year.
Yeah.
Right, to the Toledo Mud Hens, which was like he was our number 1 overall pick. You know what I mean? 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was. So tough, man. But to see these guys coming back, man, it's been fun to watch, man. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Look, to me, I think he's right now. Now maybe because the pitching staff I think is good enough. Well, you lost him, but adding a pitcher, given what happened, would make sense.
And they're 3-game home series coming up against the Reds.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think that's going to be a series that they're going to have a real big problem with.
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, like I said, like we look, Pirates are
How
after
many
the
All-Stars
Reds.
does Detroit have? Do you think it's going to make the All-Star game?
Well, they got the Cy Young winner, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be considered an All-Star.
Yeah, sure.
I'd say Wade Torkelson and Riley Green have played. I feel I'd say on their team now they've got at least 2.
Okay.
2 to 3 if you're going to count pitching.
Okay.
Then I'd say
offensive players?
Yeah, I'd say they're
All right.
yeah, that's fair.
Oh my God, what a save that was!
Oh my God.
Or did it hit the post? He saved it. Anyway, quickly, the Red Sox, they're 70 games and also they're 34 and 36. The vaunted Yankees come in this weekend for 3 at Fenway. Boston took 2 out of 3 last weekend in the Bronx, and then just took 2 out of 3 from the Rays. So the Red Sox are starting, but this is a big one. And I don't know if they can sweep the Yankees right now, but they got to win this series at home. They got to keep this momentum going. They can drop 1, but they can't drop more than 1. They got to keep this thing going because there's plenty of time. But they're starting. They got to start to make a move now and show something. Taking 2 out of 3 would cap off their best week of the season. I would argue, given the competition.
Right.
The Yankees twice and Tampa Bay sandwiched in there in the middle, who's second place in the division. So 2 out of 3, I'd be ecstatic. If they got 3, I'd throw a party. I don't think they're taking 3, but I think they could take 2 maybe. They've got to do this, and they've underachieved. If I had to give them I think they're 4 or 3.5 out of the last wild card right now.
Yep.
All things considered, I'd probably give them a C because they're not buried.
Right.
They're kind of spinning their tires in the dirt, I guess.
Right. They're kind of in the worst place they could be.
Yeah.
Right? When you're right in the middle, it's the worst to be just all right.
But they have the talent to be a threat.
Yes.
To be a playoff team. I still think they're a closer way, although this Chapman kid throws over 100 miles an hour, so
yeah.
I didn't know who he was. But maybe they have a closer. If they have a closer, they could be a contender because they got the ace. The lineup is good enough. Their middle relief has killed them.
Yeah.
It's killed them. You weren't here the other night, it bears repeating again because they have lost 17 one-run games.
Oh my God,
that's a season.
That's crazy.
They've done this before the All-Star.
I think if you get half of those back,
half of them they're in the wild playoffs right now.
Yeah,
that's
wild.
So they asked Alex Cora this question. I thought he had a very. This gave me some hope because I think Cora. People were talking about firing him. He's one of the best managers in baseball. Are you firing him?
Right.
So they asked him about this, and he goes, "Look, we're as dumbfounded by." So he knew the stat.
Oh yeah.
We're as dumbfounded by this as you are, but and it's happened in a myriad of ways. They're all wacky, He's like, so when that kind of stuff is happening, you got to tell. Well, I tell the guys, look, there's a 162 game schedule. Water seeks its level. Right. Meaning this will even out. Just keep playing hard. Because our guys are playing hard. Just some wacky things. It's not for lack of effort. They don't care. It's just some wacky things have happened.
Yep.
They've had some injuries. They've lost the first baseman. Brakeman's out right now, but he'll be back eventually.
Yep.
So they've had injuries too. They haven't been 100%. So it's been a lot of things. But Cora's answer to me, it wasn't him being, he's the mayor who's going to say that. It sounded like he had some comments. Look, water seeks its level. We keep playing hard, good things will happen. It's not like when he went down the midst, and I didn't go back over all these losses, but he kind of broke down a couple of them, and they were weird. Weird shit happened. Stuff that doesn't normally happen. Stuff.
I got and shout out to Bregman. He's the 17th best batting average in all of baseball right now. Tigers' best hitter, batting average wise, Riley Green. He's 43rd. So that might be somebody else you might want to pick up at the deadline. Anybody that's available that's hitting north of that.
Yeah. Well, the Red Sox aren't trading anybody because they're going to be in this. They're going to be buyers, if anything.
Yep.
But they've got it. This series is big this weekend.
How good is Aaron Judge, man? He's the
number
one batting average. Good Lord, man.
The list that he just got added to today.
Yeah.
It was Babe Ruth, Who was the other guy? Ted Williams.
Oh, jeez.
And Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh my God!
The only other three guys, I think, there's two of those three is right. I'm stoned, but I know the two. I don't know if it's definitely Griffey and Babe Ruth. I don't know if Williams is the other guy, but there's another guy who's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
If I could tell you his name right now, it might be Williams, but I'm stoned, so I can't quite remember him all. The point is that he just entered this list for like 25 home runs and batting whatever the hell he's batting, and and when you look at the numbers, you're like, that's ridiculous.
Man,
it's just ridiculous. I mean, he's the leading candidate for MVP, and he should be.
Yeah,
he should be, because if you look at that, who's on that list, those guys are all they're icons. They're in the top 10 of hitters, both of them, I would think, Griffey Jr. and Babe Ruth. I think they'd both be. You
know what's crazy? When you look at the all-time hit list, you see, Pete Rose. Nobody's catching Pete Rose. It's kind of like no one's catching John Stockton with assists, right? I mean,
or
no one's right. Just not going to catch him, right?
Yeah.
And Miggy, with all the hits he had, he's 16 all time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and Jeter's up in the top 10, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, my God, man, you know how hard it is to actually do this stuff.
No, I mean,
right?
Manny Ramirez, who's got the prettiest swing this side of Griffey Jr. I've ever seen. It's him and Griffey Jr. are the two prettiest swings I've ever seen in my lifetime. Okay, they swing the bat and you look at them like you think they're natural. They were born to do this.
They got it.
Who?
They won it. Edmonton. All right, Edmonton wins it 5-4.
We have a 2-2.
We have a 2-2. We got
I
a
never
Donnie.
thought I'd be rooting for Canada, but Edmonton's kind of they got bitch slapped by these guys last year, and they're looking for some revenge. And actually, I think it went 7. Actually, I'm not wrong. Yeah, but they lost a heartbreaker, and this is these two again in the rematch. This is like Celtics Lakers shit. Only neither one of them is Celtics. Well, Edmonton's kind of a historic franchise, but I don't know where Florida is. But if Florida wins this cup, they'll start to enter some pretty high sacred waters. But this is a series now, 2-2.
You know what's great about this series? Let's give it some love. 3 of the 4 games went into overtime.
The NHL.
That is great.
I will say this. And
so exciting.
Chris Kovac's going to go. Listen, I love basketball, but there's the two best sporting events, in my opinion, to watch are March Madness and the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Man.
Those are the two best to watch. They have the most excitement, the most drama, the most holy fucking moments. And I don't play hockey, but I love sports. I love competition. And these two teams are both very, very, very good teams.
Yeah.
And the fact that they are tied is not really a surprise, but the way Florida won Game 3, you're like, holy fuck. I mean, they look like a country mile better. But now Edmonton woke up. Okay, and they did this in Florida. So they go back to Edmonton 2-2.
Man,
this is a hell of a series right now.
Game 4 is so important for momentum purposes. I mean, Edmonton's got the.
Yeah. I mean, now if you like upsets like I do, you're praying for Indiana tomorrow night.
Yeah,
because nobody had the Pacers winning. When the season began, nobody had the Pacers in the NBA finals.
No,
I think maybe 2 people had them in the conference finals, losing to Boston.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had them in the finals at the beginning of playoffs. Like no one's thinking there, The
fact that they are up 2-1 right now.
And I mean, let's be honest.
They're a feel-good story, whether you like them or not. They kind of are.
And things kind of broke for them, too, right? I mean...
They didn't play healthy Boston. Boston kicked their ass the last 2 years.
And Boston wore out New York. You know what I mean? Pistons and Boston both.
I don't think Boston wore out New York because Boston quit in Game 6 and Tatum went down in Game 4.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown, who we found out had surgery the other day for his knee, was taking cortisone shots so he was hurt before the playoffs began.
Yeah, that's wild.
And then Porzingis went down in Game 1.
I'm kind of glad he shaved the braids, though. He looks very, very astute now.
I wish he hadn't played at all because, honestly, with a knee, you don't fuck with a knee. Now, he's expected to make a full recovery, but me and Izzo talked about this when we did our playoff preview. Mm-hmm. I found out he was taking cortisone shots. I'm like, anytime you're jamming a needle into your knee to play, it's not good.
No, it's not a good thing.
It is not a good thing. And I applaud Jaylen Brown for manning up and he manned up.
Yeah.
He tried. He wasn't 100% though. Anybody who watches him play will tell me, go look at the film of last year and this year and you're going to see a different guy. He's a step slower. He doesn't have the lift, and that really affects his game. And then he's not the defender he can be either. So it hurts you on both ends. And then, Porzingis has this illness. He still has it, by the way. They've been out of the playoffs for 3 weeks. He still has this fucking thing.
What is
that? They don't know what the fuck it is, but this is scary shit. And think Reggie Lewis. Those of you Boston Celtics fans, think Reggie Lewis here for a minute. Yeah. This is not good. This is not this guy is soft. Reggie Lewis, who was considered, died from something like this.
Yeah, he had like a heart
murmur. He collapsed on the court.
Yeah.
And Porzingis was like couldn't breathe. Listen, this is not a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And he manned up and got killed for it. Well, 3 weeks later, he still has the problem.
Yep.
So he's not making it up. And he was only able to go 11 minutes. The Knicks were handed gifts like you read about in this series before Tatum went down. The Celtics were never 100%. From Jaylen Brown's knee to this guy's freaking post-Kobe, what the fuck they're calling this thing now.
Yeah.
He still has it. Then Tatum goes down. And Tatum had 42 points in that game. And I'm laughing at everyone saying, well, it was over. They were 3 minutes to go and they were down 9. So that's 2 3-pointers and then it's 3 with a minute to go.
Yeah.
You telling me by the way, the Celtics have done this a multitude of times. You telling me, and Tatum was hot? You telling me that there was no chance of that happening? I'm not saying Boston wins that game, but don't tell me it was over. Not with the way they shoot threes.
No.
That team I've seen miss 16 in a row and then hit 5 in a row.
Yep.
I've watched them do it. So if there's any team that could have done it, they're the most likely candidate. And he went down. So the Knicks were gift wrapped that series. And then there's the Joe Mazzulla gift. How about the gift that keeps on giving? This moron. Who said, you know what? This isn't already hard enough. I know what we'll do. Let's get up 63s in a game.
Maybe Brad Stevens should offer him to the Knicks.
I would love that.
Hey, we'll take 3 number 1 picks.
I would love that.
Pull it old school Ainge.
Red Auerbach was famous for all that shit.
Yeah. All those picks.
Red Auerbach fleeced the fucking Golden State Warriors for fucking Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the biggest.
When did they go? They go there at the end of their career?
No, they drafted. Here's what happened. Parrish was in his 3rd year in the league.
Yeah.
He was average. He was 13 and 8. He was okay, but nobody knew who the fuck he was.
Yeah.
He wasn't an all-star like that. He was kind of like, oh, he's a starter, but he's like, eh.
Yeah.
So Auerbach has Joe Barry Carroll and convinces, because they were so Minnesota, Golden State was like, Parrish is never going to be more than this. Joe Barry Carroll's this. So Auerbach said, all right, you want Joe Barry Carroll? I want Robert Parrish, and I want your 1st round pick.
Yeah. And
they were so enthralled with Joe Barry Carroll, who did have great numbers, but he wasn't.
Who was it?
Joe Barry Carroll.
Oh, Joe Barry Carroll.
Yeah. So that was for Robert Parrish, and that pick turned out the 3rd pick in the draft. Ended up being Kevin McHale.
Yeah.
That year, the Celtics,
that sounds like
the Celtics won the first title.
We traded Vlade to free up the cap space to sign Shaq, and then
fucking
traded Vlade for Kobe.
Fucking stupid Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
What planet did you think Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant is a fair swap?
Yeah, and Eddie Jones, they gave him that.
I don't give a fuck what they gave him.
But remember, Kobe was 17.
Doesn't matter.
And not a lot of people knew, right?
Who was the guy who picked up the phone?
Yeah, exactly.
Jerry fucking West. If Jerry West is picking up the phone about somebody, and you're going to get him, and you're going to give Jerry West that, no. Not
yeah, you always have to ask yourself, why does he want this kid?
And who? Eddie
He must
Jones?
be good. Why does he want this kid?
Why is Jerry West offering me 2 starters for this kid? That should have been your first call.
Yeah. Right.
And by the way, was Jerry West wrong?
He was not.
He's one of the 10
He
best
was not
players.
wrong. Oh, he was not wrong a lot.
I have him number 9 on my list because the 8 in front of him are Duncan, Irving, Bird, Wilt, Magic. Okay,
you would almost argue
Jordan and Russell.
Man, he was a great player, but man, he was an outstanding executive.
Who?
Jerry West.
Absolutely.
I mean,
better.
Not just for the Lakers either.
Look, let's be clear. Jerry West got the logo as a sympathy award, kind of like when they gave Aaron Rodgers the 4th MVP the year Brady threw more touchdowns and had more yards, and they won the Super Bowl. By the way, he was 0-6 in the finals against the Celtics. He never beat them.
Nope. He went 9 times.
Why wasn't Bill Russell, who has 11 rings and the main culprit for this, not the NBA logo?
Yeah. Right.
11 fucking rings. 2 of which he got as player coach. No other athlete in any other sport has ever done that.
Yeah.
And people keep trying to tell me Michael Jordan's better than him. I'm like, Wilt Chamberlain, who was 7'2", like 290 pounds, has the same vertical leap as Michael Jordan.
Oh, Wilt was a monster.
Wilt was an All-American in volleyball and fucking the track, and Wilt Chamberlain is probably the greatest athlete that ever lived.
Yeah, and Wilt didn't like Mike. He didn't like Charles.
But Bill Russell, that was Bill Russell's rival.
Yeah.
As much as I love Bird and Magic, nobody's going to tell me that Russell Wilt isn't the bigger rival. They built the rivalry. They matched up how many times in the finals? Like 6 times, whatever it was.
Man.
5 times. Russell and Chamberlain were the league And then when they retired, and that's when the league started to go down. And then Bird and Magic are the ones that saved it.
Right.
So, but you can't tell me that Bill Russell with 11 rings and 2, he's also a 5-time league MVP.
Right.
Is not the best. First of all, no one argues he's the best defensive player ever.
Yeah.
No one argues that. All right. So if he's the best defensive player ever, think about this. Because I had my order again. I want to say it very clearly. It's Russell, Jordan, Jabbar, Bird, Magic, Chamberlain, Duncan, Dr. J, Kobe, and LeBron. Why that?
Oh wait, no. I thought you had LeBron out because you had Duncan in there already.
Duncan is in there. LeBron is 10th because of longevity.
Yeah.
Look at that list and think. This is based on 3 things. Number 1, team accomplishments. Why?
Yeah.
What is it? It's a team sport. Everything starts and ends there.
Right.
So that's the first thing. The second, lasting impact on the game. Goaltending, widening of the lane. That's Russell and Chamberlain.
Yeah.
That's why that happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Talking about lasting impact. That's still today. Talking about lasting. Okay. Third, individual accomplishments. He led the league in rebounding. I don't know how many times. He's arguably the greatest rebounder ever, even though Wilt had more numbers. Okay, but that's because Wilt didn't have a guy named Tommy Heinsohn next to him either, who no one talks about, who's got 8 rings. And he is an all-time great.
And he was a great announcer too. Dick Stockton.
He scored 40
Tommy
points in
Heinsohn.
the finals.
Yeah.
Tommy Heinsohn.
Yeah.
No one talks about that. So the point is, like, he averaged all those rebounds with a guy like him next to him, who's a great all-time rebounder. No one talks about that because Russell's his teammate. It's crazy. They kind of can't. So that's part of the reason why it is. So he's the greatest defensive player ever. No one disagrees with that. Michael Jordan is the greatest offensive player ever. There's no disputing that. That's why they're 1-2. Mm-hmm. What wins championships? Everyone says it. Defense. Well, if that's true, Russell's number 1.
Yeah.
And Chamberlain wasn't the only Hall of Fame big man Russell had to deal with. There's Walt Bellamy, there's George Mikan, there's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who he beat in his last year, who's, by the way, 3rd on the list.
Yeah.
6-time MVP and 6. Yeah, he's 3rd. Yeah, and had the all-time scoring record for how long before LeBron broke it?
Yeah, and Frazier. Well, Frazier. No, what does he say in Airplane? You drag. You drag.
What did he say?
What did he say? You drag Russell and somebody up the court. We're gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, you drag Russell. Yeah, who's he making fun of?
But I was gonna say I think it's another big man.
Yeah.
But
anyway, the point is that by what everyone says, if defense wins championships, and everyone agrees Bill Russell's the greatest defensive player ever, and he has 11 fucking rings and 5 league MVPs, how is he not number 1?
Yeah.
And his primary rival is Wilt fucking Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, still owns over 70 NBA records. That's more than Michael Jordan.
Man.
Wilt has the 100-point game. Wilt has the quintuple double.
Right.
Where he had like 50-something points, 30-something rebounds, 20-something blocks, 15 assists, 14 steals. Like, he has a game like this. He fucking, one year he led the league in assists.
Tell your old man to drag Walton and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes. That's what it was. It was Bob Lanier.
Bob Lanier, another Hall of Fame.
Yeah, another Hall of Fame.
So the point is, like, if all that stuff is true, you're going to tell me that a guy with 5 less rings, and Bird, when he won those rings, there was no Larry and Magic. He beat Magic initially, but Magic was 35. Bird, they were at the end.
Yeah.
He didn't. The first 8 years of Jordan's career, he couldn't get past Bird and the Pistons.
No.
He was never there. He didn't win until year 8 or 9. And that's when Bird and Magic were 35 and 34, so they were out on the way out. So in his prime, there was no Magic and Larry to deal with.
And I think everyone gives Mike 2 rings. He gave him credit for 2 rings that he didn't. He left, right? So and what people like to forget is that he did come back in March, in February, I think it was, in '95, and they lost,
into
right?
Orlando in the second.
But everyone tries to front like, oh, he was out, And I know he probably the first year he was out. I always say might be Phil Jackson's best coaching job. He took a Jordanless team to 7 games,
or maybe that team was better than people gave it credit for.
Right.
Because go look at the roster.
Right.
That's
took the Knicks
roster.
to a 7th game in the Eastern Conference Finals without Jordan. I mean, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think it was all Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that team was
they
loaded.
won when they got people around him.
When they got Kukoc
more importantly,
and
he started passing the ball.
Rodman.
The first 2 there was no Kukoc and Kerr. They were the second half.
Right. No, I know.
The first half it was Pippen. It was Horace Grant.
Yep. He went
B.J. Armstrong.
Yeah.
It was Jim Paxson. It was Bill Cartwright. Who doesn't
Stacey King.
But Bill Cartwright is a multiple All-Star center in his prime.
Yeah, Craig Hodges.
People talk about Bill Cartwright like he's a scrub. Go look at Bill Cartwright's career stats.
Yeah.
That was no scrub.
Yeah.
Horace Grant was no scrub. Okay, led the NBA in rebound 1 year.
Man, they cashed him out when he went to Orlando. He was playing the side shack.
They beat them. That was the key. Orlando had Horace Grant and Chicago didn't. So it was never just all Mike.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm just saying. So the thing is, the Celtics didn't win until Russell showed up. Like, they had been to the finals twice, but the Lakers, the Minneapolis Lakers were the first dynasty. They won 5 out of the first 7.
Yep.
With George Mikan, the Mikan drill. Remember that one? Yeah. So anyway.
George Mikan.
So the thing is, Russell was the move that the draft pick, right? Auerbach drafted him.
Yeah.
That made the Celtics the Celtics. And when Russell retired, they went down for 5 years, and then luckily they drafted Dave Cowens, who won a league MVP.
Yeah.
They still had Havlicek, who go look at John Havlicek's numbers. Oh
Man.
my God.
Yeah.
8-0 in the finals, 26,000 points.
Yeah.
He has more triple doubles than Michael Jordan, and he was 8-0 in the finals. And he went through he kicked Jerry West's ass. No one talks about how John Havlicek was magic to Bird with West. No, Havlicek, it wasn't right. Havlicek whipped his ass every time. Every time they met, and Havlicek was one of the reasons why. Because it was just like, Havlicek's a stud. But the point is, like, he's in my top 20, by the way, and he should be.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, when you look at, Jordan or the Bulls teams, when they won, it was twofold. They got some talent. Not they didn't have it before, because Orlando Woolridge was a 20-point scorer in '86 and Jordan. Mm-hmm. But they developed Pippen. They developed Grant. John Paxson became a sniper. Bill Cartwright was an all-star center before he came to Chicago.
And they knew the formula. When Paxson left, they got Kerr.
They got Kerr. They kept they found a way, like, Brady took out, Troy Brown and got Wes Welker. And then he got Julian Edelman.
Right.
You see shit like this, right? So, I mean, the point is, like, the Bulls teams had more talent than people gave them credit for, one. And two, for everything Michael Jordan was, he did not win 11 titles in 13 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And again, taking out a Bird or a Magic or plucking one of them in would be the equivalent of plucking a Wilt Chamberlain into a Bill Russell.
Yeah.
Because without Bird and Magic, there's nobody of that caliber.
You got every great player has to have a villain. A villain.
Who was Michael Jordan's rival? Well, there was nobody as good as him. Actually, there were 2 guys as good as him, and he was nowhere near the league. And then 3, if you want to throw in Isaiah, because the Pistons took him out 2 years in a row too.
Yep. But during the '90s, I mean,
who was his peer?
There was nobody that.
At first, people thought it was going to be Drexler.
Yep.
And they thought for Barkley was there for a minute.
Yep.
And then he goes out. Olajuwon goes back to back, who I thought would have been the guy.
Oh yeah.
But then he comes back. Now Shaq and Kobe are on the come up, right? Well, Shaq first, because he's in Orlando, and they butt through, and they get Dennis Rodman, and they win 3 more.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman was with Detroit.
Dennis Rodman, Steve Kerr, and Tony Kukoc, who was the number 1 player.
Tony Kukoc was the best player in the international.
Yeah. Yep.
He was. So in fact, he's in the Hall of Fame, by the way. So because of it, he came back. They got to get those pieces around him again. It wasn't just him. So when people say, "Well, Jordan, Russell had more talent," I'm like, "Really? Go look at that Bulls roster again."
Yeah,
they were devoid of talent.
That was a super team.
They were devoid of talent.
Yeah.
Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman were a super team. They were. They were like Lloyd Parrish and McHale.
Oh my God.
They were like Kareem Worthy and Magic.
Loaded.
3 studs. Okay, so who did different things.
Yeah, they were all specialists.
They were all
specialists.
And so this is what they were.
You had Scottie Pippen, nobody talks about, who is so good.
He was on the Dream Team.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen was literally.
You know how many all that defensive teams and he made? I mean, so he's one of the best wings, defensive wings. Him and Satch Sanders, and he's on that list of best wing defenders ever. Mm-hmm. So crazy. There's like 5 people. He's one of them. So I mean, look, the thing is, they were not devoid of talent. That's a load of shit.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson just convinced Michael Jordan to trust them.
That's it.
And that's all it took. And once he started trusting them, the Bulls started to win. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But there was no Bird or Magic in his way either. So
it's hard to have a GOAT in a team sport. It's kind of a weird conversation, right?
I don't think there is one. I think there's more than one.
Yeah.
I think there's the best player or players in that.
Because I've started to hear the term "he's a GOAT," he's the greatest of all time, even if he's not. But I kind of like that a little bit better because you lose appreciation for people if
for
you're
someone,
like,
right, let's put it for someone,
he's not as good as him.
Right, you know what? I'm glad you brought this up.
Mm-hmm.
Because for someone to actually have title of the GOAT, okay, there's probably, regardless of the sport, there's probably 2 things you're looking for.
Yeah.
1, championships.
Yeah.
So whoever has the most, if assuming he's a starter,
Yeah.
is in that conversation automatically. And if he's a guy like Bill Russell, who also won back-to-back as a player coach, it's kind of hard to look at Michael Jordan's 30 points a game and tell me.
You also, to even be in the conversation, I think the other thing you got to have is you have to have done something incredibly special, aside from the rings.
Well, impact,
right?
lasting impact on the game.
Yeah, and lasting impact,
With
that's
Russell,
a great one.
Goaltending and the widening of the lane.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What lasting impact did Michael Jordan have?
I think the lasting impact Michael Jordan had on the game is his brand.
It's the brand.
It's
the brand. That's building
it's
your
the
marketability.
shoes. Yeah.
That's not something on. That's a result of what he did. But in
Yeah.
terms of on the court, let's think about it. And I love look at he's number 2 on the list.
This is an interesting.
Jordan is
you're
not,
going down an interesting path.
Jordan
here.
is not the first guy to dunk from the foul line. That's Dr. J. He's not the first guy to play above the rim.
Right.
Intelligent big. He's not the
not the all-time leading scorer.
He's not the all-time leading scorer anymore. He was never there because Jabbar has that over.
Yep.
And I actually have him ranked ahead of Jabbar.
Yep.
But the bottom line is like people talk about Jordan's fadeaway. He got that from Larry Bird.
What people are
so
especially
what has
young.
Jordan done? Like in terms of if you want to talk about here's what he's done. He invented, I think, for all intents and purposes, hero ball.
Yep.
Because it was isolation.
Because he would
after
dominate.
isolation. When the triangle, and they'd run the triangle. And
he's never went to a game 7. That's an impressive
Phil
feat.
Jackson knew when to scrap the triangle and just tell everybody get the fuck out of the way.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So the problem with that is this.
Back-to-back three-peat. Well, three-peats.
2 3-peats, but again, that
Impressive.
doesn't trump Russell's 8 in a row.
Right.
And by the way, then he repeated again after that as player coach.
Right.
Okay.
Right. No, it's not. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's done that in any sport.
We actually are saying the same thing because that's why I feel like the kids nowadays,
They don't know who.
they don't really know. When they look in the record books, they don't see Jordan at the top of everything like we did.
Yeah.
So they see LeBron at the top of everything. And that's why they think. They're like, who's this Jordan guy? He's like, the 6th leading scorer.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, it's interesting.
I'm just saying, you have to have done something that is far. And Russell, it's 11 rings in 13 years. It is the greatest dynasty in the history of sports. Think about the Russian hockey team.
Like Steph.
They won 4 gold medals in a row. That's 16-year dominance. The Celtics had a 13-year dominance where the best players in the world were. And this was the other thing about the Soviets is they only had to do this once every 4 years. The Celtics did it 8 years in a row.
Lasting impact. One you probably don't like that Steph has. He's got all these kids shooting from half court.
No, that is his lasting impact.
But it is lasting impact.
Steph Curry
Greatest shooter of all time.
Steph Curry created, like Jordan had hero ball, Steph Curry created small ball.
And Shaq created bully ball.
Oh no, that didn't start with him. That started with Will Chamberlain.
But
that was Will Chamberlain.
But Shaq is a big dude. I mean,
I'd say he wasn't a big dude, but I also watched Olajuwon wipe his ass with him.
Yeah.
So I also
watched,
and
you know, like Ben Wallace used to have his number too.
I watched Jordan beat him. I watched Tim Duncan.
But lasting impact on the game is what?
Who?
Shaq. They took. They instituted zone. Remember?
They allowed zone.
They allowed zone because of Shaq. So lasting impact.
Makes sense. He can't shoot.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But change the game, right?
In that regard, you can play zone now.
But I'm just trying to think of lasting impact on the game,
the
right?
The biggest impact in the modern era in basketball is Bird and Magic. Because
save the game.
It's twofold. Not only do they save the game, you look at all these wing players now between 6'7" and 6'11". That's Bird and Magic.
Yeah.
That's Bird and Magic were the first.
They were the perfect East Coast, West Coast, Lakers, Celtic, black, white.
They were the perfect.
And they came from the Midwest.
Perfect dynamic, the black, white, fundamental versus street ball. This was a perfect. Hollywood couldn't have scripted this better, and they lived up to it.
Yeah,
they did. People talk about the '80s as the golden era of basketball. They talk about it because of Bird and Magic.
Yeah,
you can stand there. And Larry Bird won the most MVP first place votes in the decade of '80s by far. Like over 200 more than Michael Jordan. He finished second 4 times.
Larry Bird is 50, 40, 90.
He's better than 50, 40, 90.
That's probably his lasting impact. I mean,
He's also only the third man to win 3 MVPs in a row. 3 of them. The other 2 are Wilt and Russell.
Yeah,
that's where he sits. Okay, so he won 3 titles in 5 years, and then they got injured, and his career was cut short by injury. That's the only reason Bird is not in the GOAT conversation.
It's Wilt's lasting impact. his
individual.
He has
70-something individual records.
Right.
That's his lasting impact.
Well, 71 if you include the other record.
You can't tell me Shaq is the single greatest force in NBA history when I have a picture of him standing next to Will Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Before Shaq got super fat.
But he might have 71 records if you include the personal record that he has.
Well, that's 75.
Yeah. it's quite a few.
I mean,
although I would be interested to know who's been with more, him or who's the guy from Kiss?
Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons, yeah.
That's an interesting question. Hugh Hefner too.
Hugh Hefner has been with him.
There's a couple of day ones.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that have just been with 50,000 different broads. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, your lasting impact. I like that. Like Magic was probably made the game. Guard. Played the game.
A 6'9" point guard.
Yeah, 6'9" point guard.
There hasn't been a player like Bird. Everybody's trying to compare Luka to Bird. It's hysterical. It's not even close.
Kobe's impact will be probably on the women's game.
Well, but Kobe. The problem with Kobe is the reason he's 9 because he was trying to be Jordan.
Yeah. Which I get. I mean, I get that. Hey, you want to emulate him?
On
right?
3 of his 5 championship teams, he isn't the best player. Shaq is.
That's true.
So that's why he's 9th. But he's ahead of Shaq because he has one more ring than Shaq.
Yeah.
So
one more than Shaq. I'll never forget that presser. I died laughing. I'm like, yes.
And that was Shaq's fault because he ate himself out of the league.
Yeah.
So Kobe Bryant said, if Shaquille O'Neal had my work,
I'd have 12 fucking rings.
And he said he'd be the greatest player ever.
Yeah.
And I don't think Kobe Bryant's wrong about that.
Nope.
So, but lasting impact, Bird and Magic, it's everybody dribbling the ball that's 6'7" and taller. They were the first 2 big men that played like guards. And they played an era where you could rip a guy's arm off and you just get a foul. Wouldn't get thrown out, wouldn't get arrested, wouldn't have to get now you get suspended for a month. We were joking about it off air. So they did that in that era, the golden era. And then there's this guy Jordan, this guy Ewing, and this guy Jabbar.
Yeah.
And Moses Malone, 8 men have won 3 league MVPs in the history of this league, and no one talks about Moses.
Moses Malone never gets any love. You're right, man.
None. The 80s was the golden era of basketball.
Yeah, man.
It really was.
We were all very lucky.
Very lucky.
Then, man.
I feel bad for the kids that didn't get to see it because you have no understanding of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But let me just tell you, and I said it earlier, if you could take 28-year-old Larry Bird and 20-year-old Matt Johnson and drop them in this era, they'd be the 2 best players in the world.
Man.
I'm not kidding when I say that. And Rick Carlisle. Did you see that
yeah, he said, I feel really bad who's ever guarding him.
Whoever tried, if I could drop Bird in this league right now, who's guarding him?
Yeah.
No.
Man. Crazy.
So, he's a bigger, faster, tougher version of Luka Doncic. Bigger, faster, tougher, and smarter. He's a smarter. Larry Bird's the smartest basketball player ever. You know how I know that? By the way, here's his other lasting impression.
What was Larry? 6'8"?
6'9".
6'9".
Actually, some people say he was 6'10". But anyway, the point is this. Bird is the only player in NBA history to win Rookie of the Year, League MVP, Finals MVP, NBA Coach of the Year, and NBA Executive of the Year. He's the only man to win all 5. So when I say to you he's the smartest basketball player I've ever seen, think about what I just said.
Wow. That's crazy.
He's the only man. Fred Auerbach didn't do it. Phil didn't do it. Pat Rod didn't do it. Bird is the only man.
Wow, coach and executive of the year. Yeah, because he was with the Pacers for a long time.
Yeah, he built them. He got them to their one final appearance. He was the coach.
Yeah. Has he been going to the games?
Yeah,
I haven't seen him. I haven't either. I wonder if he just wanted to.
I was hoping Bird's the thing about Bird. He doesn't want the attention. He doesn't want to be the.
That's not his vibe.
If Larry Bird's not that, he understands and appreciates. He's like, the story is the Indiana Pacers.
Right.
Not me. If I was sitting in that arena, how many times was the camera at me? If you asked him this question, this is how he would answer it. It ain't about me. I'm not playing. I'm not even coaching. It's them.
Yeah.
It's their moment. It's their time. And I don't want to take anything away from him.
Yep.
And that's who he is. And if you ask anybody that knows him, they will tell you that. That's why you won't see Bird here.
Yeah.
You might see him if they win it. That's the other thing. He doesn't want to jinx them. If they win it, you might see him at the parade when they hand him you might see that. But he won't be there in the arena. If they win it, and if they do win this thing, so they win it, he won't be there. I'll bet you he won't be there.
Or he'll be there, but he won't be on stage.
He'll be watching, but he'll be watching from home. He won't.
Yeah.
He won't. He doesn't want to be because Reggie Miller. And look, this is why everybody's pissed at Reggie Miller. He's all over the fucking place.
Yeah, he's always in it.
I'm like, look, dude, we get it, but this ain't about you anymore.
Yeah.
It stopped being about you about 30 years ago. Fucking sit down.
Yeah.
You had your chance. You blew it. Fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like, ain't your moment.
Yeah.
But there he is.
There he is.
Jersey on. No, I can't.
And the shoes and all that.
And then he's giving him words of wisdom. Oh, you lost.
Yeah.
What fucking words of wisdom is beyond don't lose. Don't lose it. You don't want to be me in 20 years rooting for this other team to try and do what I couldn't do, but I have to do that because I have to keep my pay jealousy sucked in, or I look like a pay. Yeah, that's what Reggie would tell you.
I like how they do this too at the end, like where they're just rapping outside the locker room.
Yeah,
that's stress out of.
That's crazy how they do that.
He's got overtime goals and he's got multiple games with multiple
goals. What sport
goals.
do you see that in?
You don't.
You don't. Those are the two coaches, right?
I like Heinrich on the set, former Red Wing. I like that, Mr. Lundqvist.
Gretzky. It's all about Gretzky.
Gretzky's had a lot of.
That's all about Gretzky.
He's had a lot of injections in the face.
Dude, he almost looks like a puppet.
Yeah. It's a lot of Botox.
Could you imagine?
I want the hockey.
You've been to Disney World, right?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
You know when you go into the Hall of Presidents?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
If he was in there.
Yeah.
Like you'd think he was one of them.
You'd think he was one of them. Yeah.
I swear to God. By the way, this is what happens when Yoda and Joe, they all run amok. Jobu runs amok.
I like Patrick Kane too. He's a beast.
He's a beast. Anyway, that's going to do it for our show tonight. Look forward to enjoy the game tomorrow night. We will see you early next week. And hopefully the Redoubtable will return. We will see where we are. We'll see where we are in this series. But you guys enjoy the basketball and all the baseball this weekend. But for the Redoubtable one, I'm missing on assignment. Highlight question one. Hugo in the Hizzy guest house. It was great to have him tonight. Highlight question one. Boys and girls, you know the drill. Hey, Donald. It's terrible.